Monsters. Chapter 153. The gang raised money to help send families with sick kids to Disney World in Florida. The little monsters are out and about when they see some kids picking on a little girl. They went over to rescue her, and Stumpy said to them, "Get away from her and leave her alone." "Why should we? She's a freak. Look at her with all the tubes attached to her body," said one of the girls. Excuse me. "I'm not a freak. I have cancer. The tubes are for my medication and chemotherapy," said Amelia. "I'm sorry, I really am. I didn't know you had cancer. Even if I did know, I shouldn't have been so mean to you. None of us should," said Bella. "It's okay. We can all be friends if you'd like us to be," said Amelia. "Yeah, we'd like that," said Bella. "If you don't mind me asking, how long have you had cancer?" said Stumpy. "About a year," answered Amelia. "Well, you're very pretty," said Stumpy. "Thank you," said Amelia. "You're welcome. We have to go now because we're going into town to buy some new clothes for our holidays," said Stumpy. "My parents were going to take us to Florida, but my dad has lost his job and my mum only works as a cleaner 3 days a week, so we can't go nowhere because we can't afford it," said Amelia. Excuse me. "I'm sorry to hear that, Amelia. I'm sure you'll get to go one day," said Stumpy. Then the gang walked away, and as they did, Stumpy had an idea, and he said to the others, "Hey guys, I know how we can send little Amelia and her family to Florida." "Oh yeah, how?" said Bumpy. "Well, we can go butt-skiing and we can put on our own concert to raise the money to send them and other families to Florida. And we can raise money for cancer research too," answered Stumpy. "Hey, that's a great idea. Come on, let's go and tell our parents. They're all at my house anyway," said Kicker. They all went back to Kicker's house and told their parents, and they thought it was a fantastic idea. Then they went over to the club to ask Susan if they could have their concert there, and she said to them, "Oh, hi guys, I was just thinking about you guys. How do you feel about performing here this weekend? Actually, we're here to see you about the same thing. You see, we met a little girl today who has cancer, and she was supposed to be going to Disney World in Florida. She's not going now because her parents cancelled because her dad lost his job and her mum only works as a cleaner 3 days a week. We were wondering if we could hold a fundraising concert here all next week and the week after, seeing as how it's the school holidays. In case you haven't guessed already, we want to raise money, not just to send Amelia and her family to Disney World, but to send other families with sick kids too. Not just kids with cancer, but kids with all kinds of conditions. We want to donate the money we raise to charities who send families on dream holidays and other charities too. We're going to go skiing too, and whatever money we get will go to the different charities." "Can we have it here, please?" said Kicker. "Yes, of course you can. When do you guys want to start?" answered Susan. "Can we start on Friday night, please? We break up from school for 2 weeks that day. It will give us enough time to decide what songs we want to sing," answered Kicker. "Okay guys, that's fine with me, and I'll see you then," said Susan. The kids went away, and then Bumpy said, "Why don't we go busking now? We've got nothing else to do today." Everyone agreed, and then they went home and got the equipment they needed for busking, and then they went into town. That night they managed to raise £450 between them. They stayed in town until about 6:30 p.m. and then they went back to Creeper's house for a sleepover. The next day they spent their school lunch hour at the shopping centre over the road from the school, busking, and they managed to raise another £200. Excuse me. After school they went busking again in town and they managed to raise another £600 between them. They gave all the money they'd raised to Bumpy's dad to keep it safe for them as he worked in a bank. The next day when they got to school they asked Mrs. Scott if they could leave donation buckets around the school, and she said that it would be safer to just put them in all the staff rooms. At lunchtime they went over to the shopping centre busking again and they managed to raise £150. At the end of the day, when they took the donation buckets out of the staff rooms and counted the money, they'd raised another £350. They took the money to Bumpy's and gave it to her dad, and he put it in the bank with the rest of the money. That day they all stayed at Bumpy's to work out what songs they were going to sing during their 2-week fundraiser. Excuse me. Then Stampy had an idea. "Hey Stumpy, have you still got some wood and some paint left in your shed?" "Yes, I've got loads. Why, what are you thinking of doing?" said Stumpy. "Well, I was thinking that we could make some toys and sell them. I thought we could start now, seeing as it's raining and we can't go busking," answered Stampy. "That's a great idea. Let's go over to mine now," said Stumpy. They all made their way over to Stumpy's and got to work making some new toys to sell. Just as they got there, Joshua, Emily and Layla came out wanting to help. They taught Emily and Layla what to do. But because it was their first time, Stumpy only let them paint until they were used to the tools. They soon got the hang of the painting and Stumpy promised to teach them properly how to make the toys. By the end of the day, everyone except Layla and Emily had made 3 really big toys each and 1 medium-sized toy each. That night they went back to Bumpy's for a sleepover. The next day, even though it was raining, they decided that they were still going busking. They knew that they could because Bumpy's mum had bought them a waterproof pop-up gazebo. She bought them it so that they wouldn't get wet and so that their equipment wouldn't get wet and damaged. Before they went busking, they went over to Stumpy's house to spend the morning making some more toys. When they finished, they tidied up the shed and then they went into town busking and selling their toys. They sold the really big ones for £15 each, the medium-sized ones for £10 each, and the tiny ones for £5 each. That night was the first night of their concert. At the end of the night, when they counted the money they'd raised so far through their busking, selling their toys and their concert, they'd raised £8,000. They were chuffed to bits, but of course they weren't finished yet as they'd only just started. Excuse me. That night they stayed at Stumpy's and the next morning, straight after breakfast, they got to work making some more toys. This time Emily and Layla made a couple of small ones and they were actually really good. Then out of the blue they both started singing and the gang couldn't believe it. They were fantastic. They'd already promised the other little kids that they'd take them busking and that they'd let them take part in the concert. So they asked Emily and Layla if they wanted to take part and they said yes. Of course they couldn't take them all busking at the same time as there was too many of them. they'd all be able to go to the club at the same time because their parents would be there. That day, when they'd finished making their toys, they went for some lunch to give the paint on the toys a chance to dry. After lunch, they all went busking in town until about 4 p.m, and then they all went home. They had their tea and then they got ready for the second night of their concert. That night after the concert, they counted up all the money they'd raised that day, including the money they'd earned from busking and selling their toys, and it came to £7,500. This brought the total they'd raised so far to £17,250. Over the next 2 weeks, they continued to busk and make toys and to do their concert. By the end of it, they'd managed to raise, in total, £180,000. The money was split between the families they knew about, with around 6 kids, and several children's charities. This meant that families were able to go on the dream holiday of their choice, making their sick child's dream come true. The kids didn't go unrecognised as they were on the news and in the newspaper. The end. Hope you like it, guys. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to like, share, comment and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, please feel free to like, share, comment and to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, guys. Love yous. Bye.